Welcome to N.E.R.D.S. I am your host, Lucas. With me is my other host,
Zackary.
And today, Zackary is going to needlessly, endlessly rant dumb shit about...
Today I'm talking about the family dynamics within video games, which I'm very excited to talk about. But before we get into that, I guess we should discuss our weekly obsession.
Oh, for sure. So my weekly obsession this week, I have been playing a game with my roommate called V Rising.
Yes.
It is one of the most infuriating fucking games I've ever played in my life. But I love it so much. So, for people who don't know, V Rising is a survival crafting game where you play as a vampire.
I thought this was a completely different game.
No. You play as a vampire.
I thought this was a Viking game.
No.
Vampire survival?
Yeah, survival. Vampire survival. Where
is this the one with different electricity, or different elemental weapons?
No. No.
Okay.
So
continue.
What the game is about is basically vampires had been taken into hiding because humans have completely overrun and went to war with vampires. But now you awaken back and are trying to reestablish the vampire empire.
Yes.
And you do that by exiting out, collecting resources, building your castle, killing specific bosses, and taking their blood, which has power. It gives you more magical spells and stuff like that. Think the combat of Diablo.
Okay.
Mixed with survival crafting of the forest. Okay. It's very, very fun. There's enemies everywhere. You have AoE spells. You have you have different types of spells. So you have electricity spells. You have necromantic spells.
This is what I was talking about.
Yeah. That's the spells, not the weapons.
I thought it was weapons.
No, weapons are different types though, and they have their own specific abilities, which are super fun. But the game infuriates the ever-living hell out of me because the difficulty spike just goes and goes and goes and goes.
Yeah. I mean, that's survival games, though, for you.
No, that's games with very, very hard bosses for you.
That's true.
And specific mechanics that just don't work as well. It's still within its, early beta. Mm-hmm. Not early beta, late beta, but it doesn't have much in the sense of defensive options.
Is it just dodging?
Dodging on a cooldown.
Oh.
Yeah, it's...
So, I mean, yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, and then progressing through the game is, the specific bosses you kill hold the locked resources that you need. You have to unlock resources by killing these bosses. And if you can't kill one of those bosses, you're kind of just stuck beating your head against a wall.
That makes sense.
But I do fucking love the game. It's super fun to do on co-op. You can do PvP or PvE with other players. You can completely destroy their castle or stuff like that. Me and my roommate will kind of just coexist on a PvP world.
Yeah.
And help each other out, depending, and then just do duels instead of just actually PvP. Because we don't have enough people to do an on-scale war or anything that we would love to do. But yeah, it's super fun.
Sounds really like you just need to get good.
Go fuck yourself. No, some of it is a skill issue, I fully recognize, and some of it is that game is fucking bullshit, so...
That's fair. My weekly obsession, keeping the trend from last week of sci-fi, is spaceship ambiance.
Oh, yeah.
On YouTube. I fucking love this shit.
It's wonderful.
My top one is radio chatter from Spaceship Bridge and Alien Planet Rain, sci-fi ambience for sleep, study, relaxing by Selkuk Celebi. Ambience in music. It's a perfect blend of rain, some cool brown white noise, but also there's consistent radio chatter of we're gonna go picking up at the 429 port on the west side. It's alright, heard you, and it's just consistent. It's audible radio chatter, but it's not like clear enough for you to be like tune into it. This is a 10-hour video, and I think I've played through it like 2 or 3 times now.
Oh wow.
Where I'll get off work, I'll put it on the TV, I'll start planning my D&D world, or like this podcast, or just kind of mini painting anything, and I'll just have it going. Me and my boyfriend have fallen asleep to this numerous times. But I just love... I don't know. I find white noise or brown noise or pink noise, green noise, whatever, just that by itself is very boring because it's very repetitive. But mixing it with something that's very fun, like space, and having people trying to create what they think the sound of like being in a spaceship, just kind of cruising along is. So it is very droney. It's very just kind of blank noise, and then they get to throw in like, oh, here's some metal creakings from the ship. Like, there's a really good one of the Nostromo from awesome. Alien, where it's like creaking ships, and like you get a couple of the beeps and boops. But I really like the big, the strong, like you hear radio chatter, you hear the like a lot of things going on at once. Because I just love feeling like I'm in that world, but just kind of relaxing.
I get that.
It's kind of why I like listening to the game Starfield and not playing it. Because listening to someone play it is much more fun because I get to hear their commentary and I'm watching someone play it.
Yeah.
Check him out. Co-Carnage. Love him. This is his second playthrough. So he's played the game. He knows about the game. He's got an idea of what he wants to play. And so we're cutting out a lot of the unnecessary amount of time. But I still get the spaceship ambiance, the chatter of people, like, the gun sounds. Like, it's very just in the world without the unnecessariness of it.
That's awesome.
So, go check out, not space ambiance. It's got to be spaceship ambiance.
Specifically.
There's a couple good ones of, like... I like the ones that are, like, inside the spaceship, but you can find ones that are, like, spaceship floating through, so it's like a lot of like it's deeper drones and like deeper cracks of like an entire spaceship going through. There is no sound in space.
That's really cool. I usually whenever I'm looking for like ambiance or anything like that, I usually do like me being me, like either fantasy ambiance,
which I do love.
I fucking enjoy the hell out of fantasy ambiance. But one of my favorites is usually like a like dystopian, like not dystopian, but like the image is like a broken down like building or something like that, and you're hearing like the chirps of birds and stuff like that, and seeing and like hearing like sometimes you hear people go across and stuff like that. Those are some of my favorite like ambiances.
I just love sci-fi ambiance. For so long, I used to listen to... Well, first of all, I do love fantasy. For a long time in, like, my high school, I listened to, like, tavern music where it's, like, people laughing and, like, throw rain on anything.
Yes.
Love it. Like, rain on the tavern that, like, you hear people laughing and you hear the barmaid come by. But I've slowly come to realize my love for, like, cyberpunk or just, like... electronic future, and so there's a lot of fun ones where like you're in a cyberpunk city, and it's the sounds of lights and sirens, and then you get like the fun flying car like
yeah.
And I've just now slowly transitioned to like space is really cool too. Yeah, love ambiance. Cool. It's the backbone of doing any sort of long form tedious work.
Oh, for sure. I mean, using ambiance, especially in like tabletop games as well, can be very, very fun to, like, sometimes I'll do ambiance instead of music just to kind of really get that feel,
I ran my Vampire the Masquerade episode a couple weeks ago, and I played like downtown Los Angeles ambiance, and it was like just like some cool ambiance and stuff, and you just hear a huh, and it's just a video of a dude walking by, and it's just the solid like huh. And then he just laughed. God. And I was like, hey, that's ambiance for you.
That is ambiance for you. Oh, man.
Well, how are you?
I mean, I'm doing great, man. Everything's kind of coming into place recently. With
into the New Year's now?
Actually into the New Year's. Everything's fine. I did cut myself, which is...
A laceration, you would say.
Yeah, well, kind of actually, because it's kind of a nasty cut. So I was at work, and I work in the food industry. So like
breakfast specifically.
But I'll basically do anything that they ask me to do. Like if I'm doing dishwashing or I'll do cooking one day or whatever. We had some plates break.
Oh.
Yeah, we had some plates fall. Which I think was kind of my fault. I don't know. All I remember is we call them 10s because they're 10 inches. Is I was putting away some stuff. I just got back to the dish pit, and then just heard a crash, and there was a bunch of like 10s that broke.
Oh no.
And I see that, I'm like, great. So, and we have this bucket that we use specifically for like broken glass, but it was a lot. So I was like, and the bucket was already filled with some stuff. So I was like, all right, I gotta go dump this. So I go to the dumpster, dump it out, and I have a plate fully just cut.
Oh.
Like it not only cuts, it digs into my finger.
Oh.
And I'm like, son of a bitch. So it's a pretty deep, nasty looking cut, and I was like, do I need stitches for this? No. But it keeps reopening.
Super glue?
No, I'm just using Band-Aids for now.
Okay.
So,
because it's on the finger, I don't know if you said that. You move around a lot with that.
I do.
So you might have to get like liquid Band-Aid or like a super glue to actually close it.
Yeah. I'm just keeping bandages on it for now.
Can you roll me a Constitution saving throw?
See if I get tetanus.
See if you get... well, not tetanus, because it's a plate.
Yeah.
It would just be more poison for the rest of your life.
Yeah, poison damage.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm fine. The bleeding is on and off, depending if it reopens or anything, but it's not too big.
That's good.
So how are you doing?
Not bad. Living the same life. Kind of getting back into swing. We're officially done with a lot of the work vacation days that we get scheduled off. Like Christmas, New Year's. So it's been getting back into the groove of having to work without, being like, oh, next week we get this day off. This, in 2 weeks we get 2 days off.
Yep.
Because I've been enjoying working 2 days and getting 5 days off. So it's been getting back into the grind of like, okay, well, I actually have to work my normal schedule, and then our friend group's getting back into the groove of having a TTRPG on Tuesday and Thursday, so it's a lot of stuff, but it's 2024.
Yeah,
the season of production.
That's kind of been the theme of this year for a lot of people from what I've seen. I've seen a few videos where people are really wanting to Smosh especially.
Oh yeah,
is
reformed.
Yeah, reformed. They had a whole talk about how they. I think it was Arasha, which she's great if you ever see Smosh. She basically said the sentence of like, 2024 feels like the first normal year after like the pandemic.
Yeah, I think that's been a very concise thought with a lot of people is, 2020, 2021, and 2022 all is kind of just a fever dream.
Yeah.
It didn't exist, and if it did exist, what happened? Who remembers anything? And then 2023 was like, okay, we stepped outside, but it's still kind of fucked. Or at least it doesn't feel right. And then, 2024 is like, okay, we're back. Or at least, hopefully back.
That's... Like I said, it's the theme. We don't know if it's necessarily going to get there. But a lot of people are really wanting to be productive this year. So I'm all about it. I'm hoping to be productive myself this year, as said in the last episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a great time.
Well, shall we get into the episode?
Sure can.
All right. What do you know about families?
Do you
have one?
Yes.
Okay.
I know not everyone is fortunate enough to have one. I know found families are a big thing with, especially our group.
Yes, and with video games, which is another big thing. Found family is going to be something we also discuss about. But yeah, families, it's a very interesting topic both in video game world and out of video game world of researching and writing my notes for this episode was very much like, well, something I'll talk about later is that there isn't a lot of healthy dynamics within families in video games. But then I was like, what is a healthy dynamic in normal family?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is there such thing as like a perfect family? Is there such thing as a truly healthy family? Because anyone you talk to is going to have some issue about a sibling, a parent, or a parent's going to have an issue with how a child was, how a child grew up or where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, is there really such thing as like a normal family?
I mean, speaking to my experience of just because my family has gone through a lot, and I'm not going to get too far into that, but it's family is just kind of what you make of it. It's it's whether you and I'm finding that family is usually the people you choose to have in your life, because I've definitely cut off some very toxic people that I used to consider family, and I've been for the better for it. But I also have, am still working to see, what it's like to have a normal functioning family, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it's crazy to think that just because you were born from a person and they had some other person born from the same parent that you have to be close to them or
exactly.
You have to enjoy their company is so weird to me.
I love my mom. I love her to death.
Other people though? Not so much.
Yeah. But weirdly, like, from my perspective, and I don't see this perspective with a lot of other people's families, I'm very close with my aunts, and I'm very close with my Nana. Like, and my Grandpa Gary is basically my father figure.
Mm-hmm.
Like that whole side of the family I'm extremely close with, and every time we get together I'm very, very happy and fortunate, and I really don't hear anyone else having something like that usually. So it's very
usually
bizarre.
very opposite, where like aunts and grandparents tend to be the ones you cut out, where you're like, I don't know them much, or they came around when I was young, but now it's been 12 years since I've seen them.
Mm-hmm.
And usually you get close for like kind of how I am, like brothers and sisters or like cousins.
For sure.
That's where a lot of... Well, because you kind of grow up with those people in a normal-sized family where you've got 2 to 5 people, and then you tend to have 1 or 2 aunts or uncles, and they have their kids of their own. It's common that if you guys live together or live in the same area, that you grow up. I grew up with 2 of my cousins from my mom's side who were very close. I mean, one of the oldest cousin is like 1 year younger than me, and we played video games when we were a child. Call of Duty Zombies, Minecraft. But yeah, it's kind of the opposite, where it's like my aunts and uncles I don't have any contact with. I don't like a lot of my grandparents. Say for my Nana, love her.
I love your Nana. Your Nana's great.
Everybody loves her. But I have good relationships with my parents and most of my siblings. But it's something we see very heavily in video games. Is the not replication of that, but the similar feeling of everybody's got issues.
For sure.
And no one's going to enjoy every single member. Or even... And it's... In our discussion today, we kind of have to take 2 sides, or look at 2 sides where one is we are playing video games that have family in them.
Yeah.
And then the other one is we are playing the family in the video games.
Yeah.
And I will start this podcast with a rant, which is I fucking hate Mario. He is a complete asshole to his brother Luigi. And it's my biggest... When I first was planning this, I was like, what's the first family I think of? And it's like Mario and Luigi. They're one of the oldest families you can kind of think of.
For sure.
And we'll talk about it later with the whole family being here, which is a category. But it's the members of the family that outshine other members with no regards is one of my biggest pet peeves in video games. And Mario and Luigi are the first thing you think of. Mario being the He's the older brother, I think.
Yeah, Mario's the older brother.
The most popular, the most liked, and then Luigi's the sort of side-off character who even Mario himself kind of throws out at times, or isn't really a part of things, or
for sure
has that jokingly said relationship with each other where it's like, oh, Luigi, you're here. Why are you here? Kind of thing. I fucking hate it. And we see it a couple other times where it's kind of one member outshines the other. Case in point, Dante and Virgil from DMC.
Yeah, okay. Dante and Virgil are a little different from Mario and Luigi.
They are, but it's civil rivalry. But it's that same thing of one brother always outshines the other, or one family member outshines the other. And you get the other one kind of being we'll talk about DMC later, because it's a whole other civil rivalry is a whole other thing.
Okay, so to your point with Mario and Luigi, I'm in full agreement. I think Mario sometimes is terrible to Luigi.
Oh, yeah.
Incredibly. Look no further than fucking the Paper Mario series.
Yeah.
And Luigi gets fucked in those games. Hardcore.
You almost feel like he's not a character that you even should remember.
Well, it's not only that, but he's the laughingstock character.
Yeah.
He's the character that gets put down a lot in those games, especially. Yeah. Now, Luigi gets his moments for sure,
and we'll talk about that in a second, because I do specifically talk about Mario and the relationship dynamic. So I choked on my spit wrong. But yes, their dynamic is very interesting, and mostly in looking at families, I see 3 different types of families. We see the whole family is here, which is, we see a lot of members of the family at once.
Yeah.
We have parent and child, which is, the father and daughter, or the mom and son, father and son.
We see that a lot more recently.
And then the last one is we see both, or either lineage family or ancestry family. Which is, they never really interact with each other, but you're following the lineage of a family.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. I didn't think it went that far separate until I was like, well, no, that game is a very different family style than this game, and this game isn't at all similar to either one of those. But the first one I really want to look at is the whole family is here, where we see a lot of members at once. And I will start with a lot of these games I know of. Not a lot of these games I've played super deep into.
Yeah.
Or at all. So some of the knowledge might be, internet surface level of I think they're family. So if we get anything wrong, feel free to let us know. Because I talk about some things that I truly have no idea about. We talk about the Tekken series in a second. And I have never opened that game once.
I love Tekken.
But
we are also not psychologists.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah. We are 2 friends.
Yeah, we're 2 friends who are bullshitting.
That's why it's ranting.
It's ranting. We're just talking about our own experiences with these games and, families and stuff. So
yeah. The first one I want to talk about is the Donkey Kong series and the Kong family. Awesome. We first see Donkey Kong Jr. in 1982, which is... I guess Donkey Kong's son. The way they kind of explain the whole family is that it's not actual blood, it's found family. A lot of them are found family.
Donkey Kong Jr., fun fact, was one of the first Game Boy games I ever had.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it was really fun.
They kind of explain it more as a tribe than a family, but they are family, and it's a very clear family dynamic where you've got Donkey Kong as the dad, you've got Donkey Kong Jr., and... Dixie, I think, is the girl, or is it
Dixie comes
Diddy
later.
Kong?
Diddy. So okay, if we're talking about the full the actual blood family, it would be Cranky Kong is the original Donkey Kong.
Yeah, Cranky Kong.
Then there's Donkey Kong Jr. We don't know what happens to him, but then we get the modern day Donkey Kong, who is Cranky Kong's grandson, which the movie gets wrong.
Oh.
Movie calls him his son when it's actually his grandson.
Interesting.
Yep.
And Dixie Kong is who I was thinking of.
Dixie and Diddy come a little later.
Yeah. And so you kind of get that whole, like, it's family, but it's, like, kind of found family / some blood. And then, obviously, they are seen as something that we also will get into, which is a good family. We talk about some evil families into the line of this is, and the reason I kind of want to start with this is that it's really it's the most healthy dynamic that I can find in a family where there's not really a lot of infighting. They're fighting, because these are video games and they do tend to fight something or be in some sort of conflict. They are fighting a semi-evil person, which is the Kremlin crew, which has the weird skeleton alligator.
For sure.
The lizard people. But they're like, it's not really negative in a sense. And they have moments, I think, in the games where there is kind of that conflict, but it's not like, when you think of the Kong family, you're not like, oh, this family member hates this family. Like, Diddy and Dixie aren't like at each other's throats fighting. It's very much, we work together to do the same job, to get bananas and to survive.
For sure.
Which is the goal of 2024.
Yes.
Get bananas and survive.
Get your potassium, people.
Eat your potassium pills.
Eat your potassium pills.
Consume Prilosec. Prilosec.
We love you, Game Grumps.
Yeah, but it's a very nice family, and when originally finding them, I was like, oh shit, it's a found family first and foremost.
Oh yeah. A lot of the Kongs aren't related to each other, but they really do help each other and work together well.
Yeah. Then our next whole family is, and this one I'm gonna let you have me talk first.
Okay.
Is the Metal Gear Solid series, the Big Boss. Researching this, a lot of people collectively call Solid Snake and Liquid Snake the Big Boss's sons.
Okay.
Which I know they're replicas, and I know that it is genetically cloning, which is very interesting to find this. Because I was like, top families in video games are like, what are some like classic people? And they're like, the Metal Gear Solid series. Big Boss is seen as that father figure. And then you've got his two replicas,
for sure,
3 down the line of Solid Snake, Liquid Snake, and then eventually Solidus Snake. And a lot of people are like, it's less that they see each other as brothers, but more he is that like paternal father figure.
Yeah. I will say, I never thought of them as family.
I didn't either.
So that's a very interesting thing to learn.
And Metal Gear Solid obviously was a very interesting series, and to kind of how they explain it is that in the universe, Big Boss was once a great soldier, and around 1970s, essentially a project initiated to clone him, and they cloned 3 people: Solid Snake, Liquid Snake, and then Solidus Snake. But it was like they're kind of seen as family, and that led me to then the question of what counts as a family, and is it really how they see each other? Because I don't, and none of my knowledge do they ever refer to each other as family.
No.
It's just, you're there and you're there. But is that kind of important in a video game where you have millions of other people looking into that?
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, interesting. The Big Boss, Metal Gear Solid. He has sons.
I would not describe them as sons, but that's just me. And if they are, that's such a toxic family relationship.
And so we get into toxicity. And how do we transcend from toxicity? Super Mario Brothers! Our next topic, Super Mario Brothers. The Mario Brothers,
God.
to rehash this argument, I hate Mario.
Oh, God.
Which is first seen in Donkey Kong, 1981.
Yes.
And we get Luigi only 2 years later in Mario Brothers. So only a 2-year difference. So it's not like Mario had this great grand lineage before Luigi.
Oh, for sure.
They came around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And yet Luigi is always seen as this is the biggest family dynamic that I hate, which is one member is the strong, the brave, the heroic, kind of do-good all, and either the other member is the exact opposite, the evil, or is the
cowardly.
The cowardly, the shy, not a part of the adventure, doesn't like doing anything in a sense. And that's kind of how Luigi is set up in the first few instances of his show. That's our cat, or my cat, messing with the blinds. Martini. Luigi is cowardice. He hates being an adventurer. He's not heroic. He's not brave. Portrayed as that way. And I think it's flipped in the most obvious way as possible, is that Luigi continues to do it. Mario's journey has always been, I only adventure when Princess Peach is stolen. And then once I get her back, I'm done.
Yeah.
But Luigi's always he's always kind of doing his own thing, and he's always out adventuring, and he always gets into those fun situations like Paper Mario, where he's already doing something.
That's fair.
And he conquers things that I would love to see Mario conquer in the same situation of Luigi's is it Haunted Mansion?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Where it's a whole mansion that he actively goes into to hunt ghosts and
and go save Mario.
Because Mario's trapped, and it's do we ever see instances where Mario has to specifically just rescue Luigi?
Yes.
Or is it with a bunch of other people that he has to rescue and Luigi's just there?
No. So Mario Bros. Movie is not the only one that actually does that. There's a game that not a lot of people like to talk about in the Mario's movie, which is Mario's Time Machine.
Oh.
It is a history game with Mario, and it's not good.
Interesting.
But Luigi is the one who gets... Luigi is the one who Mario has to save in that one. He gets taken away by Bowser and has a whole time machine weird thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. And to also little bit of a Catch-182 rebuttal on this. If you look at the Mario and Luigi games, specifically their RPG games on the usually the DS, or started at Game Boy, they work really well together as a team. You can see the love and respect that they have for each other. Mario and Luigi save each other countless times in that.
Yeah.
Though that's the start of that, I would say. For a long time, Luigi was player 2.
Always. And it is always sort of thrown out, kind of, like you said before, the joke of the character, never really important. And I'm glad we're getting more into the... Because I've had those arguments before where it's Mario's kind of just a dick to a lot of people. And that kind of joke of, him riding Yoshi and just, discarding Yoshi whenever he needs... he doesn't have any use for Yoshi anymore. Or, it's that kind of... Mario's just there for Peach at times, and that's what a lot of it feels like when you play a lot of those games. I'm well... Where's the Luigi spin-off? Where's the Toad spin-off? I want to see... And you are right. We are getting more content now where it is Mario is much more human and much less about chasing the girl. And Luigi's much more than just being a coward and just that joke character. They're kind of coming into their own people. But yeah, that was my first... Because I think about it all the time. Because I know what it feels like to be a Luigi in a Mario world, to have a sibling that is the golden child or so much better than you, or at least shown that way, and you're I'm doing the best I can, and really not much can change unless the outer world kind of sees it differently.
As a older sibling,
you're the oldest.
I am the oldest of 2.
I am 4th out of 5.
Yeah. So I can very much say that everything you say is true, and I am the golden child.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. No, it really comes down to parenting and how it comes down to, and making sure that your children feel unique and special in their own viable ways. There's always considered middle child syndrome.
Oh my god, I'd love to sit down and talk with Mario and Luigi's parents.
For sure.
We should get them on the podcast. I think it would be really interesting.
I'm sure we probably could. We saw them in the movie, and we know what they look like.
We'll email them.
We'll get them on the phone.
I still haven't seen the new movie.
It's pretty good. I made the joke whenever we finished it for the second time at our apartment that it was like best 7 out of 10 movie I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
it's super fun, but the plot's not much, which is Mario.
I was gonna say like it really is unless. I feel like Mario is the opposite of Zelda in the sense that Mario early games to me are kind of and then you get to later games which feel like they are more than just go catch the girl.
That's fair.
Where kind of Zelda was the opposite. Like the beginning games were very nice, and then you get into the kind of later ones where it's just like, well, have we lost what we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the later like I love Mario's. Is it Space Odyssey? Or am I thinking of the 2001 Space Odyssey, the movie?
I think you're thinking of that. Because there's Mario Odyssey.
Odyssey, that's what I'm thinking of.
And then there's Mario Galaxy.
Okay, so I just combined them.
Yeah.
I love both of those.
Yeah, they're great.
They're such interesting concepts that aren't just, hey, I've stolen Peach, go get her. And even, in a sense, they're always, I mean, Mario is defined, like Zelda, as a certain way of Bowser comes in, fucks something up, and then you've got to go fix it.
For sure.
And they've come out with a new one. So, is it Super Mario Wonder or is it just Mario Wonder?
It's Super Mario Wonder.
Yeah, and we've started watching that, and it's the same premise. Bowser comes in, kind of fucks up the Flower Kingdom, I think it is.
Yeah.
And then you gotta go fix it. But
I love that Daisy's there. I think that's great.
I am really enjoying that it's not just now Mario, that you are able to choose.
Yeah, Mario, Luigi, Toad, Daisy,
Yoshi's. It's much
Nabbit.
more. Yeah, I love that. It's much more of a you kind of choose your own adventure,
For sure.
which doesn't lose the Mario feel,
Not at all.
but still keeps it.
Absolutely.
And I will say collectively, Mario and Luigi are good people.
Yes.
They do murder and genocide. They do kill a lot of the Koopa clan, but
I mean, the Koopa are genuinely evil most of the time, unless they're golfing.
and that lets you murder them.
Hey man, I'm not gonna go into the ethics of Mario, alright?
I think
Is he a war criminal? Is he a war criminal? Matt Pat says he is.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Which perfectly transitions into our next big found family, the Koopa family.
Oh, really?
As you've got Bowser, and then you have his actual legitimate son, Bowser Jr., which we first see in Mario Sunshine 2002. Bowser Jr., and I do want to kind of delve deep into the Koopa family because it's the first time we really see an evil family, but each one having their own personality and their own likes and enjoyments, and then it's hard to do what you just did, which is say they're all evil, but they're people. And so it's that, well, how do you justify? But Bowser Jr. is our kind of first actual and only family of Bowser. He is kind of described as bold, energetic, easygoing, though, and friendly. And interesting enough, does not mind being an ally to Mario. We see him in Paper Mario, the Origami King, and Bowser's Fury. Bowser's Fury, he sides with
It's
Mario.
Bowser's furry. Let's be real.
It's furry.
It's furry.
Yeah. We see him side with Mario. And so it's that... Well, it's also the question of, do you go under the same... As a child with a parent so set in both what they do in life and also how they deal with life, are you forced to follow that? Is Bowser Jr. forced to follow Bowser's line and becoming the Koopa King? Or does he get to expand and beyond his family and be someone else? Because he obviously sides with Mario at times. He's not pure evil.
No. I don't even think Bowser is pure evil. I think they're just...
I think he's sadistic and touch-starved. Which, let me be honest, who isn't in 2024?
I know I am.
Because he doesn't kill.
No, he doesn't. He never
He
kills.
just takes over, and then he kind of is like, once he's defeated, he kind of goes on his way. You know, we're not talking about the psychology of his desire for princesses. That's kind of similar to Adventure Time's Ice King, where it's, you know, is it evil? Is it fucked up? Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, honestly, Bowser and Ice King have a very similar dynamic.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it goes
Both
into that...
very hot. Both.
Okay, calm it down. But no, like both, both aren't necessarily like the most evil guys out there, but they are the very much like the normal like.
They are villains.
Steal the princess so the hero can do something kind of thing.
But yeah, and Bowser Jr. being this. What was interesting to look into more, because I was kind of started looking more on Bowser Jr., is that it's very well stated that he harbors a very lonely side to himself. Yeah. That he is, as kind of the only child of Bowser, very lonely. And we
which that sucks that they're doing that now, because they used to have the Koopalings.
We're about to get to that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Even in the Koopalings, Bowser Jr. is shown as the boss, but it sort of deals with that. Your father's not really there a lot, and so you're kind of you're struggling with, okay, well, my dad's evil. Does that make it I have to be evil? And he doesn't have siblings to talk to. He doesn't have anyone to talk to. So it first is alluded to in Mario Party DS, where he is this sort of borders depression lonely.
Really?
And so you're kind of like, well, you feel bad for him, but then you almost, once you hop into Mario's shoes, you go, oh, well, he's the evil guy. He's the bad guy. We'll just, stomp on him and kind of kill him. Not kill him, but, put him down.
No, Mario only kills the infantry, not the generals.
So Mario loves to not,
Mario's a war criminal.
Yeah, he doesn't fix the issue at hand. He just cuts off the leaves and lets the tree keep going. But yes, we do get to the Koopalings, which is very interesting, because they are not technically a part of the Bowser family. They are siblings to each other, but it is kind of shown that Bowser Jr., the Koopalings are all kind of siblings. Bowser's the big dad, because they're all Koopas. But they are a separate family, yet often compiled with Bowser's family into this big, mega found family kind of thing. And we'll talk about the whole big found family. First is Ludwig von Koopa.
Yep.
Which every person is named after some historical figure. Ludwig is the oldest. Oh, we first see the Koopas, in Super Mario Bros. 3.
Yep.
1988. Which, remind you, only 5 years after we see Luigi, we see the Koopalings before we see Bowser Jr.
Yes. Bowser Jr. wasn't even a concept.
Yeah, until 2002. Yep. Which is crazy to think about.
What's funny, and I was going to say, I know we're going to talk more about the Koopalings, but there was this Mario Bros. Comic back in the day that would come out with every power issue. And the comic, legit was a Mario Bros. Story where Mario and Luigi are going to save Princess, and it was a really fun story, and Princess Peach actually had a personality, unlike the games. But there was no Bowser Jr. Lemmy Koopa was considered to be the heir of the Koopa family,
which is so weird.
Yeah. So and Lemmy didn't want to be the heir of the Koopa family. That was a big part of the comic was the Koopa kids. They all have their own personalities, of course. Lemmy felt the pressure of being the heir of the family.
In this, do they explain Lemmy as the oldest?
I don't know.
Because it's very different in the lore we have now.
Yeah, it is. But that was the thing. Bowser Jr. wasn't a thing, so they had to have, Bowser needs an heir. And they already have the Koopalings. Yeah. So it was Lemmy who was the one that was chosen to be the heir. I don't know whether it was because he was oldest or whatever else, but that was a thing in the Mario comics.
Let me see if I can find this, because this is... Do you remember what the comics look like? Or what they were named?
Super Mario Bros. Comics is usually the best way to look for them. They came with every power issue. So...
Yeah, because I'm trying to find... Because Lemmy is one of the second youngest.
Yeah.
So him being the heir of the Koopa family and not Ludwig, which is the oldest. I don't know if it was in that comics, but
I don't think they mentioned any of their ages in the comics.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's very good to know. Very interesting to know. So Ludwig, who is the eldest, and it is described in Mario's Wikipedia that he is the oldest, is described as possessing the most magnificent intelligence, most superior than any other Koopaling.
Ludwig's the one with the big blue hair, right?
I don't know. I'll look it up.
Mm-hmm. He's got bushy blue hair and some buck teeth.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is Ludwig.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
He's described as having the most intelligent among any other Koopalings. It is also suggested that he is the cruelest out of all the Koopalings.
That also kind of makes sense.
According to Mario and Luigi's Paper Jam, Ludwig egotistically believes himself to be the real leader. To which the others, Lemmy, Morton, and Iggy, specifically claim they never voted on it. And further explain
where's the democracy, Ludwig?
And further explain that they operate as a collective trust. So I just love the idea of Louis being like, "Well, I'm the most intelligent, and I'm obviously the heir," and the other three are like, "Hold on, we never voted. First of all, we're democracy."
That's amazing.
But yeah, it was very. But it's kind of that only child thing.
Yeah.
And that's the hard, it's something I wish we would get more into of, do the Koopalings see themselves under Bowser's family?
Well, we haven't even really seen the Koopalings in forever.
That's true.
Mario Wonder doesn't have the Koopalings at all. We just have...
What's the Mario Odyssey one? It's the rabbits, right?
Yeah, it's the rabbits.
Yeah, which I guess I could have added to this. Mario really loves the enemy family.
Mm-hmm.
The Koopalings, Bowser, you got the rabbits.
For sure. It's interesting. They've fully just sidelined the Koopalings.
Yeah.
I've only seen them nowadays in either Smash Bros or Mario Kart, and that's about it.
Then we move on to the next three aren't really labeled as oldest to youngest. We know Ludwig is oldest, and we know the three youngest. But we have Wendy O'Koopa, Morton O'Koopa Jr., and Roy Koopa.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wendy is the second oldest.
That makes sense.
It feels like she's that. She's the only girl in the bunch, which is very interesting. She's also known as Cootie Pie, which is very cute of her. In the cartoons,
in the comics, she gets a crush on Luigi. It's hilarious.
I ship it. I love that so much.
I think anyway. I'd have to double check that.
If you're lying, let us know in the comments.
Yeah,
in the comments.
If I'm a dirty ass liar, tell me in the comments.
But she's considered to be a very spoiled brat, quick temper, and often rages over the very little things. Which, not gonna lie, as someone who has an older sister, fits. Mm-hmm. She also stated to being very tomboyish.
Yeah.
And what I found very interesting, seems to act as the de facto boss in Super Mario Adventures.
Yeah.
So you've got Ludwig, who thinks himself who it statistically shows to be the most intelligent, and thinks of himself as the de facto leader in one instance. Then you've also got Wendy, who is kind of the de facto boss in another instance. Not thinks of herself, but kind of is the de facto boss.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, someone who has an older sister who was very tomboyish, they can be quick-tempered, very interesting. So
for sure,
this almost feels like my family, in a sense.
You are a family of evil Koopas. That is true.
Hey, I'll take it.
Mm. Which Koopa are you? Probably Lemmy.
Yeah, probably
Lemmy.
Or Ludwig, because I'm super intelligent and really smart. Next, we have Morton Cooper. Morton Koopa Jr., who has been described as the largest Koopa.
Yep.
He is also known as Big Mouth, which I found very interesting in the cartoons, due to his talkative nature, and often he talks for long amounts of times, only being stopped by another character or his siblings. Which, once again, big siblings tend to have a lot to say when they shouldn't have anything to say at all.
I feel like this is just therapy for you.
It is. No, absolutely. That's why I wanted to do this, is that we see so much similarities in the families we see in video games, because it's the whole thing, well, video games make people violence, video games like make people want to enact things, and it's like, well, also video games show parts of our lives that we see.
Absolutely. Video games are an art form, baby.
Yeah. After Morton, who I think is the third oldest, we have Roy Koopa, who is described as the second bulkiest Koopa in the Koopalings, which I don't know why you needed to be a thing.
I guess.
But he's also known as the bully.
Yeah.
In the cartoons, and is said to like beating up others for his own amusement, which is very middle child of him.
Fair enough.
I'm not gonna lie, it's very much like it gives middle child energy, which is why I placed him as fourth. And then we've got Lemmy and Iggy Koopa, who are twin brothers. Not much is said about them. Yep, they're sort of just there as like twin brothers. They're cute. I love them, but not really a lot. And then we know the youngest Koopa to be Larry.
Yes.
He is known as Cheatsy in the cartoons, and he alludes to the fact that he will try to win by any means, legitimate or otherwise. Very interesting, though. He has a love for sports, as seen as playing in tennis in the Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. He plays tennis.
That's the only
but he plays tennis with a fireball. So again, very cheatsy, but
I love it.
It's, what do you think about it? A family dynamic set in being kind of the villains and evil, but having their own personalities, having ways they deal with each other.
It's, it very much feels like, don't trust those fucking Dinkelbergs down the road kind of thing, It's like, but when you really get to know them, they're their own people.
The 5 kids riding bikes that kind of always vandalized, because they were like, well, their mom's not there, and the dad's an alcoholic.
Yeah,
they stick to each other. They're good siblings. They're just kind of assholes.
Yeah, but they're lashing out because of what their circumstances are. And, necessarily, good and evil always have their own interpretations, of course. And out of all of the, franchises, Mario has some of the, are they really evil kind of
is Mario really justified doing what he's doing?
Yeah. But it's also very kid-friendly, so it's I don't know. To me, how I see the Koopalings is, I've always loved the Koopalings. I always thought they were great. I think they should do more with them. I'm sad that they don't.
I'd love a Koopaling spinoff.
That would be great.
A game where you get to, play each one, or it's one of those things where you can switch between them.
Oh my god, them trying to, save Bowser from this, big threat that's going on, and Mario and Luigi are indisposed or something like that, and so it's the Koopalings having to,
We go to kill Mario and Luigi.
Mario's the bad guy.
Yes. No, that would be so fun, Mario and Luigi and Peach are all, on a vacation, and then, some other evil villain. I mean, you get that in Paper Mario. The weird evil, robot dude.
Yeah, it could be Mario and Luigi. I mean, that's the basis of Peach's game has Mario actually captured. Actually, no, just have them captured as well. And so you had to play the Koopalings to go save everybody.
Yeah, but I if we get a spin-off of the Koopalings, I'd rather not it be the copy and paste Mario story, which is someone captured and you gotta go rescue them. I want a unique spin on what we can see as a Mario game.
I mean, that's fair.
Which is, I want to... I was going to say Kirby-inspired game, but that's not...
That's not how that works.
That's not how that works.
We'll workshop it. Nintendo...
We'll send Nintendo an email.
We'll get with you, Nintendo.
Keeping with horrible families, the entire Greek pantheon for God of War. Which is,
you are not wrong.
no.
So not wrong.
But all almost related.
Oh yeah.
An entire family, and that's what goes with this category, which is entire family is there. We see aunts, uncles, siblings, cousins.
For sure.
Even Kratos, son of Zeus, is there. And it goes back to I'm not saying is Kratos justified for killing the entire Greek pantheon. Maybe! My personal opinion. But is he justified for stepping out of line and doing something he didn't want to do? Because that's the whole reason. It's kind of what feels like the foundation of the God of War series is that Kratos didn't want to be Ares' plaything, essentially, anymore, and kind of stepped out of the family line, and then everyone's like, you gotta come back, and he refused to.
So, we're not only going into bad families, we're going into family trauma.
Yeah.
Because
it's family dynamics.
It is family dynamics. So, yeah. So, Kratos, obviously, all the gods have some kind of relation to each other. And Kratos not being an exception to that at all.
Yeah.
It's incredibly fucked up what they do to Kratos.
Yeah.
Forcing him to make a pact so he doesn't die. Immediately captures his brother, kills his brother.
Years of them being told to go somewhere and slaughter people without ever thinking about it.
Oh yeah. Then getting tricked to go slaughter their own family.
Yeah.
Their own wife and child, and then having
and then being cursed to wear your wife and child's ashes on your skin.
That wasn't the gods.
No, that was the Oracle.
That was the Oracle, and that was a real fucked up thing the Oracle did.
I think she slayed. Because I don't think without that, I have a feeling without that curse, I don't know how much Kratos would have really thought about it. I know killing his wife and child really fucked him up, but having the physical reminder that what he did, I feel like was the catalyst for him to be like, wait a minute, I need to stop what I'm doing and think about it.
For sure.
Because in a sense, I feel like he could have just killed them and been like, oh no, my family, but they're dead. But the fact that she was like, you're gonna wear your wife's and child's ashes as a permanent reminder of who you are.
A permanent mark.
We see that even into the later games of it's consistently reminding him, which is why I think it's such an important moment in his life, that he is physically reminded.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, his family is fucked up.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think any of them really start realizing that it's Zeus's kid until I think God of War Ascension.
It's later down the line.
Yeah.
For the most part, you just assume he's a Spartan who became someone that worked under Ares and eventually would become the God of War.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no. Kratos learns that Zeus is his father, and after killing Ares, Zeus is corrupted by fear to try to kill Kratos because he believes Kratos is going to, the whole prophecy of the God of War is going to end the Greek pantheon.
Yeah.
He thinks Kratos is going to be the one who does that. He is.
Which is a very fun tie into Kronos eating his own children, the prophecy that their children are going to destroy them, and they do the most they can to stop it, exactly. Which then just causes it.
Mm-hmm. As said in a very well done detailed diatribe within overly sarcastic productions, the prophecies are a symbolism for family trauma.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's fascinating that Kratos goes through as much stuff as he does. It really is like, if you're going through some terrible stuff in your family,
yeah,
I fully am down for cutting bridges. You can, if they can be forgiven, for sure. If they can be forgiven and stuff like that, try to forgive, stuff like that. If they do some horrible stuff and they're never going to change and they're always going to be that way, that's fine cutting ties.
Yeah.
Don't do what Kratos does.
Don't murder.
Where he murders his entire family.
That's what I would love to see interesting. I don't want to say remade because I love the God of War story, but at least talked about he kills a lot of innocent family members. A lot of people that truly didn't deserve it just because he's angry at specific few. And it's that, like, what would have been different if he cut only specific bridges? But that's kind of his whole thing, is that he was angry at the entire Pantheon for how they fucked him. And so how do you cut bridges with something that's an entire unit?
And it's not like any of them were coming up to him and be like, hey, Kratos, buddy, let's just talk it out. You know, I understand what Zeus did, but it's not okay. No, all of them were like, well, Zeus is fucking right, and you're a piece of shit mortal. Fuck you,
stepped
Kratos.
out of line. How fucking dare you?
Yeah, so it's not like, at that point, like, him cutting bridges, I wouldn't, you know, I don't think any of the group gods in God of War were innocent, honestly. They all really did their thing to fuck Kratos over. Athena did.
Yeah.
You know, Poseidon probably got the worst punishment out of it. But, you know, he was definitely on board with helping Zeus and stopping Kratos and was talking, every one of them talks mad shit on him. You know, but then they get, you know, their asses smacked, so...
Yeah, I don't think Kratos really cut any family members out. I think he destroyed just his family.
Yeah, he did.
I don't think he cut ties. I think he just cut people.
Yeah, just cut people.
And we are going to go through in a whole separate episode about Kratos' journey with Atreus and Frey.
Oh my god,
because that's a whole separate thing, and that's more than just one family. That's a separation of healing, inner turmoil, childhood trauma, family trauma.
That's really delving into. I would love to really just talk about Kratos more.
I think when we do the Kratos and Atreus episode, that's going to be really fun.
Absolutely,
because it's two very different people. I mean, what we get young Kratos and old Kratos are such different vibes.
For sure.
But yeah, continuing on for that, we get to my favorite family of all time, my favorite game of all time, Darksiders and the Four Horsemen, which I don't know if many people know about that game. It's not the most known, but it's not terrible. It's essentially a respin on the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, but you've got Death, War, Strife, and Fury. And they are brothers and sisters.
Yep.
Fury is the one female. And
there's always got to be one female.
Well, yeah, there's always a sister.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting family dynamic where Death is the oldest. He is the most responsible, and he is 100% the leader of the Horsemen.
For sure.
It's stated within the own lore and within the own games that Death leads the Horsemen. He is the most responsible, the most calculated. Then you've got what I claim as the second child, War, who is almost the exact opposite. It's the rash, it's the idiotic, it's the Kratos, it's the
brutal.
You're not thinking about anything, you're just killing. Which his name is War,
so it's fitting.
But also, War is half tactician. It's not just blood.
But it's not what is remembered with War.
That's true. And War is very much... And I will say, the games do a very good job of giving War those moments where he has, like, no, we're going to do this, we're going to do that.
I mean, the most brutal of killers are the smartest of tacticians.
Yeah, which I think is why Death is so scary. Because he comes calculated and he comes quiet. It's just that when he enters, you know, shit's fucked up. And then we get I think Fury would be the third oldest, because it's again that same middle child energy where she is angry at the world and at her brothers because she's in a sense neglected. She feels unloved by them. She feels like she isn't a part of it and that she's not really ever listened to. In a sense, because of her own actions.
For sure.
Being that character who is furious and angry and always not in denial, but unaccepting of the others. And specifically Death. If you ever play Darksiders 3, she talks there's a one-line where she talks about how her and Death had to share a room at one time, and that she hated the way he smelled and the way he lived. And we'll talk about kind of how the family dynamics happen in the actual games. And then our last one is Strife, who is our... Well, I will say, Death carries scythes, obviously. War carries a giant sword. Fury carries a whip, which is very interesting that they gave the female character the daintiest of weapons. But, I don't mind it. And then Strife is our... What I think Strife is youngest.
He definitely gives that energy.
He's our two-wielding pistol gunsmith. But he's the most elusive, which is, again, very youngest sibling energy, where they're just kind of forgotten. You see a glimpse of him in the first movie, or in the first game. It's just him descending onto the earth. No other talk. The second game, you just get his pistol, but you have no idea where he is. You don't know what he's doing. You just find his pistol in the middle of Earth. And then the third game, he is once again completely hidden amongst the entire world. You don't know anything about him. You don't know where he is, what he's doing.
Until you beat the game.
Spoiler alerts, you beat the game and you realize Strife has been essentially cosplaying a human with his sister, because the third game is about Fury essentially learning and healing from her anger issues and healing from the idea that she is not forgotten and she can be an own person, she can love things.
For sure.
And you learn that Strife was there all along with her, cosplaying as a human, and only in the very end where she finally lets go and accepts and loves humans and begins to care for them and save them does he reveal himself, which is such a fun idea. And then we get not the fourth game. It is the fourth game, but it is technically a prelude.
Yeah, it's a prequel.
We get Strife and War being together, which is such a fun dynamic because it's that youngest child and second oldest child, and they fit very well, but it's... Strife is very comedic humor, and then War's the Kratos, it's just grunt. You're good. But they have a very interesting family dynamic because they all seem indifferent with each other.
Yeah.
Except Death.
Death
cares so
really
deeply for his brothers and sisters. He's the one that, in the end of the second game... And I'm excited to see the new one, if they ever get a new one, but his entire story for the second Darksiders is his brother, in the first game, is charged for causing the apocalypse. He didn't technically do it, but the cosmic entity in the world, or in the universe, essentially purposefully imprisons him wrongly. It's that judicial, they caused it, but they're imprisoning him.
Yeah, they're pinning it on...
They're pinning it on War.
Yeah.
And Death goes to the ends of multiple worlds to save his brother, and winds up sacrificing himself to bring back humanity, so that way War can be freed of his crimes. And it's such a heartbreaking... And he is so... In every instance where someone questions War's status, that they make a claim that War caused the apocalypse, that he's the destruction of Earth, Death almost immediately both counteracts it and puts them in the place that they will never say that again while he's there.
Because while War is the kind of brash, bloodsheddy one, the one thing that people kind of gloss over with War is incredibly honorable. He's the most lawful neutral character.
Oh my god, yeah.
That I've ever seen.
And he's intelligent. He puts the whole plot together that he's been framed with just snippets of things.
Yeah.
But he still keeps the honor. And yeah, we see Death almost become the impulsive one at certain points, trying to protect his brother.
Yeah.
Which I love. It makes me cry. And then we get the third game, which is Fury just not giving a shit about either of them. We see that Death is still missing. War has not been absolved of his crimes, because Death was successful in bringing back humanity in a sense, but also that lore is... I think the third game takes place while the second game is taking place.
Yeah.
Because Fury sees War chained up and kind of laughs at him. It's like, oh, what'd you do now, brother? And then immediately just goes on to business. And towards the end of the game, you see her start caring, and eventually she finds Strife, and Strife reveals himself. And we get that beautiful, like, she kind of has to realize she loves being a character made of anger.
For sure.
And then we get Strife and War just being the comedic duo in the Darksiders Genesis.
It's the old cop and the
good cop, bad cop kind of thing.
Yeah, it really is.
I need to play the game because I don't really remember if we get a lot of personality lore. Well, we get a lot of like how they react with each other, but we don't really get like how they were.
Yeah,
we kind of just get it as they're the fun brother duo.
Well, Strife is, from what I know, Strife is very much the like. People underestimate Strife a lot.
Because I don't think he's ever there.
Yeah.
It's easy to underestimate someone that's never there.
Mm-hmm. Well, they think his aloofness is more of him, like, oh, well, Strife is playful, and, you know, he's the witty one. Mm-hmm. He's usually the one who's, like, making the jokes and stuff like that.
He's our Deadpool character.
He's our Deadpool. I would say he's more like the Michelangelo, you know?
Oh, that's such a good, that's a very good representation.
But if you ever, like, really, like... He's the one who's actually really plotting.
Oh my god,
yeah. He's the one who's actually making things happen.
We don't get him in the first game, but I truly believe in the second game he gives Death his weapon without Death knowing. He's obviously side by side with Fury, helping her out, and then in the second game, you kind of are allowed to play him as the main character, saving essentially Earth again.
Yeah.
He very much is the play behind the scenes. It's a very interesting family dynamic where we don't see parents, we just see siblings. And
they killed all their other like,
that's true. Yeah, that's you know, we won't get into how the four of them murdered the Nephilim, which are also their brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. But going back to what you were saying, the Nephilim are evil. They were rampaging through the world.
You do see their mother in Genesis.
You also see it in Darksiders 2.
That's true.
Lilith is claimed to be the mother.
Yeah.
But it's in a lot of the intros, they say more that the Nephilim were spawned from angel and demon, and they don't really claim it. Lilith herself kind of appoints herself as the mother, and it kind of is, kind of isn't. It's kind of back and forth, but... Yeah. I was like, oh, I gotta talk about them. I love them so much. Mm-hmm. And I really want to see them do a sequel because Darksiders Genesis, the fourth game, was a prequel. Mm-hmm. It's kind of... I don't really remember... It takes place a long time ago before the first events of the first game ever happened.
Yeah.
Before Earth actually is destroyed. Mm-hmm. Because you're on, like, different planets.
You are. You're going through the first scene is you going through the plains of hell with... you know, and tracking down
Samael.
Because
it's before he was imprisoned, yeah. Mm-hmm. But we shall continue, because we're about to get into our second category, which is parent versus child. Or not parent... Well, sometimes parent versus child, but mostly parent and child. And we have a lot of fun ones. Mm-hmm. Most notoriously, and one we won't delve deep into, because, like, Atreus and Kratos we'll talk about separately... Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
Kind of one of the most famous father and daughter relationships in video games, and how fucked up it is.
Oh, it's incredibly fucked up.
But we'll talk about that one later. But it's a very classic depiction of a father and a daughter.
Yeah.
And how they deal with certain situations, and how we'll get to another example of the best version of Joel and Ellie, which I'm very excited about. But in a side rant topic, because we're still talking about family, Ellie and Dina's family dynamics are heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the hard part of family trauma overlapping relationship trauma of Ellie just, spoiler alert, truly not able to get over Joel fucking her entire life over. Of him not letting her give the cure out, even though it'd kill her, and then Abby coming after Joel, and then she just cannot let it go, and it destroys her only relationship she actually had, which was Dina, and then her child.
It's really sad.
It's a very sad family dynamic that we will talk about very heavily into another episode.
Mm-hmm.
But moving quickly on from that one, this one is a two-parter because we discuss it in Parent and Child, then we'll discuss it again in Lineage.
Okay.
The Castlevania series, the Belmonts.
Yes.
With specifically Parent and Child with the Castlevania Lords of Shadow games.
Mm-hmm.
Because they take a different spin on the classic Castlevania family, which is much more of an ancestral game where you play as the lineage of them down, centuries down the line.
Yeah.
Castlevania Lords of Shadow, you play as Gabriel, who then turns into Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
And the second game is kind of mostly what we're talking about, where you play a majority of it kind of with your son without you knowing. You meet your great-great-great-grandson, whatever greats down the line, and he helps you. Like, you're playing with you as the father get to both play with your son towards the end when you kind of realize, and also experience your great-great-great-great-great-grandson and kind of how he talks and deals with those two different dynamics. It's very interesting. I don't know if you've ever played those games.
I played a little bit of Lords of Shadows. Those games are... I more watched the cutscenes on my own time than I have actually played them.
Yeah.
I think their dynamic is interesting because I think Gabriel / Dracula as a character is incredibly interesting because he gets fucked up. A lot of the characters we're talking about really get fucked over. But that's a classic video game trope.
Gabriel, essentially priest of a brotherhood, is sent to destroy the 3 prime evils.
Mm-hmm.
Does so, not realizing that a part of the prophecy is that when he destroys the 3rd one, he becomes the ultimate prime evil. He becomes Dracul.
Yeah.
And you in the second game, you learn that his wife actually had a second child, Trevor Belmont, who would then become Alucard, which I always loved. And it's this beautiful moment in the end of the game where I don't know if you can pick. I don't know if the mics are picking up the cat. She probably is hungry. Dracula truly believes and trusts in his son because when they meet on the battlefield, essentially Dracula goes, "Okay, you're gonna kill me because I'm eventually gonna become resurrected in a couple centuries and." I'll need to be resurrected to destroy Lucifer, essentially.
Yeah.
And I won't remember any of this, but you're going to have to trust me that I trust you. And Alucard goes, okay, I hate you, but I agree. And you go through this whole second game where you play, and occasionally you get this entity that comes and join you, who's this purple crystal armor, and you're like, oh, he's cool. And he joins you for a couple missions, and you learn that that's actually your son.
It's so cool.
That he's been with, and there's that moment where it's like, Father, I'm going to put my hand on you, and eventually you'll realize what has happened. And then you get the very ending where he puts his hand, and he has the flashbacks, and he's like, holy shit, you're my son.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dracula loves his son. And I think he forgets about it, because through the whole second game, you get memories where you get flashbacks, where you meet Trevor as a kid before he becomes a vampire. And he's like, I love you, Trevor. Where are you? I'm helping you. And you have to save him a lot of times. Yet he is really an evil character as a person. And Alucard is that good character. And eventually you meet Simon Belmont, who is the grandson, who is kind of indifferent. I wish they did more with him because he's kind of like, I'm your grandson. And then he kind of kills himself to help Alucard and Dracula. But... It was a very interesting family dynamic, and I love those games. But moving on, we have yet another example of a really fucked up family. Father and son dynamic.
Okay.
Darth Vader and Starkiller.
Oh, yeah.
Where Darth Vader kills Galen Merrick, or Starkiller, his family, and takes him on as apprentice. And Star Wars has a whole other thing where masters and apprentices are very father-son or parents.
Very familial.
Very familiar in a sense. But yeah, Darth Vader and Starkiller's relationship is also very fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much that abusive, manipulative kind of relationship. But it's very similar to God of War, which is the Star Killer kind of breaks out of that mold, which as I'm talking more about it, realizing that a lot of these, if it is a fucked up family, it's usually because one person's trying to break free and the other opposite side is kind of interjecting, and that kind of causes the conflict.
Mm-hmm. That's a very common theme in a lot of games, honestly, because, you know, it's a very noble kind of thing to for the heroes to realize that the thing that they're part of is bad, that what they're doing is bad, so they have to break free of it and stop their once mentor. Very classic storytelling trope.
It's one of my favorite quotes of it is better to not be born good, but to be born evil and overcome great obstacles to do good.
Yes.
Which is what we see. Star Killer's not the best example, because he does violently murder a lot of people.
Yes.
But it is that similar vibe of kind of this evil entity, or ungood entity, that does kind of overcome a lot of obstacles to kind of fight that nature.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was like, I saw that one come up, and I was like, oh, that's a very, it's not, once again, found family. It's not blood, as most of these kind of aren't. It is that found family, but I was like, oh, overcoming evil, but you're also kind of evil is very interesting.
Yeah.
This one I don't know anything about. We have Rost and Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn.
I know nothing about it either.
So then it'll be pretty quick. From what I know and from what I saw, it's a story that takes place, obviously Horizon Zero Dawn takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where humanity is almost all out destroyed.
Yes.
And Rost is a character who's entrusted to raise Aloy, when no one else would, due to his experience as a father. So once again, found family. Having lost his family, Rost ensures that Aloy is essentially Rost ensures that Aloy is raised by as loving as a father he could be. And it's one of those, it's really beautiful, but then reading and looking more into it, they're also outcasts.
Yep.
The whole society doesn't kind of like them, and Rost's entire goal and eventually sacrifice is to get Aloy to essentially perform a ritual or perform something. They call it the proving, a trial, that's what I was trying to think of, that lets her rejoin society. And he eventually does sacrifice his life to hopefully get her to that point, which is so beautiful. And it's where we start getting to the good parts of the family, even found family or blood family, is the I care for you deeply. Does that make it better? It's a hard part to talk about, especially with the one we're about to talk about, which is at some point, is it toxic? That one person, that they care for each other so much that one person is willing to essentially kill themselves or sacrifice themselves, leaving the other one alone and stranded, even though they were able to survive. And our last one, which threw me for a loop because I forgot this game existed, Lee and Clementine from the Walking Dead series.
Oh, God. The amount of emotional memories I just unlocked from you saying that sentence.
Yeah, because unlike Joel and Ellie, Lee comes and approaches his relationship with Clementine full-heartedly.
Yes.
He accepts her as a daughter almost immediately and does everything in his power to protect her.
One of the best video game dads out there.
Yes, and it's heartbreaking, but it leads to his death.
It does. And it's not his fault by any means.
It's never their fault.
No. But no, there's people who choose to sacrifice themselves and stuff like that. Lee gets bit out of circumstance and does everything he can to ensure Clementine will be okay.
Doesn't she have to shoot him?
You can make it to where she doesn't.
Okay.
That's a choice.
Okay. It's been so long since I've watched that game or played that game.
Yeah. Of note, Clementine is a 6, 7, 8-year-old girl.
Yeah.
She's very young at the beginning of the Walking Dead
Oh,
games.
yeah.
And she's put in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, and her family is basically dead. Lee finds her at her house in a treehouse, I think.
It's something like that.
And immediately takes her in. Just immediately. Like, fully is like, all right, I've got to take care of this little girl because no one else is going to.
Yeah.
And he's the best. He is the best. He's playful with her. He explains things very well to her. Tries to keep her safe the best he can. And they get in, there are definitely some moments where, the group around them starts struggling and stuff like that. And Lee kind of becomes the de facto leader of the group.
Yeah.
Not without some people being kind of upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Larry, who is this old man. Sorry, I'm just kind of taking over.
No, you're good.
But
it's a beautiful relationship,
a beautiful game.
And it's looking more into it. He deeply cares for her. Eventually, it's very shown in how he treats her and how he kind of teaches her how to treat herself. And then there's that kind of thing that I forgot about, where he always tells her to keep her hair short.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot about that, where he's like, keep your hair short, because it's the fear of being grabbed and all that stuff. And eventually she grows up and kind of still adopts that very short hairstyle. And you can see that how he dealt with her truly affected her in the best way. And it's... Unfortunately, I really wanted that from Last of Us.
Yeah.
But the story that Last of Us tells you is so important because of how it's told. Because it's a fucked up relationship, and it's not
healthy.
It's not healthy because we already have a zombie apocalypse healthy relationship. Why retell the same story?
It's healthy but not healthy. Last of Us weirdly turns into a, because it starts with Joel not being, being this curmudgeonly, everything sucks kind of old man, and Ellie, being the young kid that she is, this kind of, oh wow, a lot of wonders and stuff like that. It's when Joel gets severely hurt and Ellie has to start, taking care of him.
Yeah.
Where the dynamic switches, and she goes through a lot for Joel, a lot. And Joel gets better and he helps her out, but then he's the one who starts becoming the healthier one, and feeling better about himself and stuff like that. But that leads to almost a parasitic relationship with Ellie.
It's almost like neither of them can both be thriving.
They're both so codependent on each other that they can't thrive with each other.
Yeah. It's like one can only do good. When we see Joel doing well, Ellie's struggling. When we see Ellie doing well, Joel's struggling. But we'll talk about that more later.
Yes.
In another episode. But I thought that was a beautiful way to end the parent and child relationship.
Absolutely.
And then our next one, there's not much to talk about because a lineage/ancestor relationship, there isn't really a relationship. You're playing either an ancestor or a lineage.
Yeah.
But we see it quite often. First, we see it in Assassin's Creed.
Absolutely.
The whole Desmond Miles lineage, where you play as someone playing your ancestors.
Basically.
And getting to experience their whole life before you ever exist. And there's really not much to say about it because there isn't a level of toxic. There is no toxic relationship. There's no healthy relationship. It is just that you are experiencing a family throughout years, decades, centuries at times. But weirdly enough, I thought about the question of why do games like this? Is it just to keep it in a familiar face? Why do we play so much with
lineages and
with
stuff?
Lineages?
So my theory on it is that lineages tend to feel important because of how lineages were important in kingdoms and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's the you want your kids to be doing good, and it's a lot of Assassin's Creed really was the first time I noticed it very much in games with lineages. Where it's Desmond learning so much about his own past to become a better assassin and stuff like that. But they do it in the other Assassin's Creed games with other people. that's kind of the whole thing is like going back in time and
to see your ancestors. Yeah, it was very interesting, and then moving that to I classified this one under lineage / ancestor because I didn't know much about it, and what I read sounded like it, but it's the Mishima clan from Tekken.
Yep.
Which is very interesting to look at and to read about their tumultuous heritage. And when you're introduced to the Tekken family in the original game, it's via a storyline where the protagonist, Kazuya, seeks revenge against his father. Kazuya. Throwing him off a cliff, I guess.
So the long story short, I can't remember his fucking name.
The father?
The father.
Mishima.
Mishima, or something like that. He, is this like capitalist $1 billion corporation like dude. His wife is like, oh, I'm pregnant. I should tell you this thing. The bloodline curse? The bloodline curse. We have a bloodline curse called the Devil Jin. And, so that kind of happened. That's going to probably happen with Kazuya. So, like, and then this evil capitalist asshole is like, well, fuck this kid. Throw him off a cliff. Because greater evil, blah, 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 blah. Kazuya survives, and then is like, well, my dad just threw me off a cliff. Fuck him.
Yeah. Oh, and mixed with the devil gene.
For sure.
Which is just, hey, you're gonna fight and hate your family. In general, it was so interesting to read. I was like, holy shit. Not only do you have a lineage of people and, like, family, but literally built into the story of the world is that they will hate and fight each other, and some do break free of it. That was very interesting to learn that some have managed to overcome it and then join forces. But I was like, damn, you got a whole lineage based on just hating each other, which is so opposite of what we normally see.
Yeah. Usually it's the lineages are something to look past. Sly Cooper games are a great example.
These are the Qbert games. I was like, interesting choice.
No.
Sly Cooper.
Because Sly Cooper 3's Thieves in Time is another lineage game where Sly is going back in time to help his ancestors because they're all kind of... all of them are starting to get affected by the big bad.
Yeah.
And all their history is going away. So he's going back in time to help his ancestors be these thieves, and he becomes, he learns more and more about his ancestors, works with his ancestors to help, steal and become legends.
Yeah.
And they all teach him, like, new ways of thieving and stuff like that. It's another, like, good ancestry.
Yeah.
It's usually portrayed as good. So the Tekken series portraying it as, like, oh yeah, no, this is a bloodline curse.
Yeah. I hate you because I have to hate you.
Yep.
And that we're going to fight.
Yep.
Just because I want to.
Just because I want to.
And our last family, which I told you we'd get back to again, is the Belmont family.
That's true.
In the classical setting. Because Castlevania Lords of Shadows really takes a twist on the Belmont family.
Yes.
Where Dracula and his sons... Dracula has sons. And, it's a lineage. The Belmont family is more of...
It's a lineage of vampire hunters.
You start with Leon. Leon Belmont, who 11th century.
Yeah.
We travel with the Belmont family from the 11th century to 1980s. With Julius Belmont. But yeah, Leon Belmont, essentially the first in the family, goes, hey, one of my friends is now Dracula, and I have a weapon that can destroy him. It's what I'm going to go do. And he essentially what I will say forces his family into a role of you have to do this regardless. Like, it is our family lineage. We are vampire hunters.
It's like passing the, some people have, like, things that they pass down through their family. Like, my grandpa has a pocket watch he wants me to pass down through my family. Some memento or something. Yeah. their memento was, hey, here's our deadly vampire hunting weapon.
Here's the vampire killer.
Yeah, you're going to have to kill Dracula all the time, every time now.
Because really enough,
good luck.
He keeps coming back.
He keeps coming back.
But yeah, we run through Leon, the first in the family, in 1094.
Mm-hmm.
Then we run to Trevor, which is sort of what the anime series is based off of.
Yes.
He is the first to defeat Dracula in 1474, almost 400 years later.
Which, please go watch that anime. It's so fucking good.
Then we get to Christopher, which is 1591. He would hunt a more powerful version of Dracula. And essentially, Dracula would then possess Christopher's son.
Yep.
And so Christopher would have to fight his son, eventually frees him, and then kills Dracula. We don't see much about his son. He's kind of not important. And the next one is Simon, who... It's very interesting to... Reading this up, playing Castlevania Lords of Shadow first, and being like, oh shit, Dracula, Trevor, and then Simon are like... These are his three, like... It's his three sons.
Yeah, for sure.
Simon, 1691, so another 100 years go by. He is possibly the most famous member resurrected, or rumored that Dracula has become the strongest he's ever been. Once again, defeats the Count. And then we go to Juste in 1748, fights a wraith that's masquerading as Dracula. And then we go from that to Richter in 1792, who Dracula captures his fiancée and 3 other women. And Richter's like, no! And then goes to free, and he frees all 4 of them.
Yeah.
You
don't belong here, monster.
Yeah, it's very weird. And then we skip a few people, and eventually we get to Julius, who is the 20th century, and once and for all defeats Dracula, seals his castle in a solar eclipse in 1999.
Yep.
We don't see it anymore. But yeah, you essentially play the whole lineage.
You do.
And
it's very JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Or is JoJo's very Castlevania?
No, it's specifically very Castlevania. And then it kind of became its own thing during the 3rd arc.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the most classic. I think of Assassin's Creed and Castlevania when I think of lineage families.
Yeah.
Where it's like you are playing the son of a son of a son of a son of a son, which is very interesting. And fun fact, I have 2 fun facts.
Yeah, for sure.
I love vampires, and the Belmont family was fun to research. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, yes. 2005 video game, has a tactic team that you fight called the Belmonts.
Is it really?
It is
hilarious.
It is so funny. They're called the Belmont Squad.
Hell yes. I'm so down for that.
That's hilarious. And then in there's a movie that came out, The Helsing, or Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman, where in the game you get to play as Gabriel von Helsing, and in one of the books is titled An Ancient Clan of Vampire Hunters called the Belmonts, which is so self-inserty.
I love it.
Because within the Castlevania lore, Van Helsings exist. They are a side-off family from one of the Belmonts having a child with one of the Helsings, and they create a sideline.
Yeah.
And there's just so many sidelines of vampire hunters. Why there's that many vampires? Look
it's
at
not
your
even
world.
just that many vampires. It's just fucking Dracula.
So many.
It's just always Dracula.
But that's kind of the end of a lot of the family dynamics. And there's a lot of ones I didn't talk about. Like you've got the Nook family from Animal Crossing, which doesn't really feel like much. And you get a lot of more childish families. But that's not fun to talk about.
Yeah.
It's fun to rant about the trauma, the history.
No, and some of these are so interesting that we'll take them into different episodes. Just on their own, because we love their series, like The Last of Us and God of War.
God of War, yeah.
But yeah,
there's a few things I want to talk about.
For
just
sure.
a little bit after talk, some of those things. Most notably, almost all males.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just a classic of old video games, of just being very male-focused and not having a lot of female or other gender representation. But doing the research for this, I was like, the entire Castlevania series is just males.
Yep.
And then you get, the Assassin's Creed series, and it's just it's like, oh, we've added one girl. So I hope you're okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, damn. And then what also I kind of found very much of is sons/daughters at times either fighting their fathers or taking up their father's mantle, which is very interesting to see. It's like, well, you got God of War, which is very much fight your father. You've got Assassin's Creed and Castlevania, which is very much take up the father's mantle.
Mm-hmm. Hey, fathers suck, so...
Do you fight them or join them?
Do you fight them or join them?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. It's very interesting to realize how many family dynamics are in games.
Mm-hmm.
Because games are such like a... there's such a wide variety. So it's hard, we talked about some of our favorites, but there's so many out there that are much better, much worse. I mean, the whole, like, oh god, what is it? The Eve game, where you're going through a house and learning about the whole family.
I don't know anything about that.
I'll have to talk about it later, because it's a very fun one.
There's just a lot of family dynamics in a lot of video games, and that's why I wanted to talk about this, was like, we see a lot.
Mm-hmm. And we're seeing more and more of, like, especially dads and stuff like that. And that is part of, like, the developers are growing up and starting to, relate to that more. So it's like I feel like we're going to see more to come for that. I think we're going to see a lot of things brewing. I'm excited to see where these families can go.
It leads to my last talking point, which is I'd love to see a healthy inspired family, not in a child-centered video game.
Yes.
I want to see Doom Guy be given a lunchbox by his mother. He gives her a kiss on the cheek. He waves to his dad, and that dad goes, "Hey son, rip and dare!" Like, I want a healthy family dynamic in a not very family game.
I understand what you're saying.
Because a lot of it is, like, a lot of the good family dynamics tend to be very child-focused video games.
Yeah.
We get it a little bit with God of War, but even then it's a long journey with them. Mm-hmm. Even the second game. But I want to see that, like, hey, no, they love each other. It's a great family. I love my sisters, I love my brothers, my aunts, my cousins. Sure. But it's a really not childish game. Like Doom.
Yeah. And for people watching, and listening to this, leave in the comments what games do that. What games do...
Give us more examples.
Yeah, because I would love to learn, because we see so many traumatic families.
Yeah.
Or see so many, ways that can go bad.
Yeah.
I want to see some really healthy dynamics out there. And, what is shown in video games to be very healthy dynamics.
Because researching this was difficult.
Oh, yeah.
You know how hard it is to type in video games with families in them? The first result is... video games to play as a family. And I'm like, no. I want families in video games. And it's just... And there's... A side thing we didn't really talk much about was sibling video games. There's the one about two brothers.
Oh, yeah, the two brothers.
Two brothers. You've got the one with the sister and the younger brother in, a plague France.
Yeah.
We get a lot of sibling, but it's not as common. Nor do they do as well.
Mm-hmm.
But... Any other final thing you'd like to say?
I mean, as a sibling, I know I will do a lot for my sibling. I've already done a lot for my sibling. There are all kinds of sibling dynamics out there. There's all kinds of family dynamics out there.
Yeah.
Some are great, some are terrible. And, as somebody who's gone through a lot of different dynamics with family, my final thoughts are, if you're noticing some toxic traits in your family, similar to some of the games that you're playing.
Yeah.
Because the games are what helped me with some of my toxic family
Absolutely.
members. Games can be a great outlet to help teach us and learn how to deal with those, how to get out of those situations. But ultimately, if you are in a situation where you need to get out, please do.
Yeah.
Try to find a way. Contact your friends. Contact people. There are people who will help you. And I know it's unfortunate that not a lot of people have families.
Yeah.
And
because found family in my eyes, is more important.
Exactly.
Because found family can contain blood family. You can have family members that you are related to, but ultimately to find and to build a family that you love wholeheartedly, that is not against you 24/7. Once you can do that, and once you're comfortable with doing that, and you get out of those situations if you have to, life becomes so much more enjoyable.
Absolutely.
To just be surrounded with family members that you just truly love, and that you know will have your back. So
find your family.
Find your family.
I think it's the
They're
best
missing.
way.
Go get them.
Go get them.
But yeah, we don't. I guess to end that off, we really don't. We don't know what next week's gonna look like.
Yeah, no. I think it's gonna be non-video game related.
Yeah, we did the first two very video game because they're easy.
Because they're easy to do. I think it's gonna be my topic next time.
Do you have an idea what you're thinking?
I really want to get into DC,
Ooh,
like the DC comics.
Nerdy,
very nerdy. But we get a lot of representation for Marvel comics and stuff like that.
the Avengers and all that.
The Avengers and all that. I think I would really love to sit down and talk about some of the best DC media. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Is that what we're gonna do next week?
I think so.
I mean, we just decided it.
I think we just decided it.
Hell yeah.
So,
well, I guess we'll see each other next week.
Yep.
Bye bye.